Hello, I'm Gus Downing, publisher and editor of the D&D Daily, and this is the LP News Network. As LP's research or evidence-based practice brain trust, the LPRC studies virtually every aspect of loss prevention, from strategy, analytics, manpower, technology, the various forms of loss, theft, fraud, robbery, as well as store and parking lot violence and deaths. The LPRC delivers actionable information that drives results. Our world of retailing presents multiple and evolving violent data brand and property crime risk. As an LP leader, you should find out what the focus is now, as it's all about improving execution now, so that your team and stores will be ready for what comes next. And with that, I'd like to welcome Reed Hayes, PhD, Director of Loss Prevention Research, Counsel and the Research Scientist at University of Florida, Mike Giblin, Senior Research Scientist at Loss Prevention Research Council, and Fred Becker, Director of Asset Protection at Bloomingdale's. Gentlemen, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
So Reed, you're talking about what is now and next. Execution, execution, execution. And I understand you had some conversations about it with some rather large retailers. Can you explain it to us and how that translates?
Sure. I mean, this came from several large retailers whose, I guess the chief strategy people said, look, you know what, we want to keep working internally with LPRC and others on what do we need to be adjusting and adapting to in the future. But you know what, we got to get better executing what we got right now. How do we get better at dealing with the problems in the burglary, armed robbery, shoplifting, and so on, shrinkage control now? How do we implement and execute better what we're doing now? And so we've just kind of stepped back, labeled this now and next.
So Mike, I mean, how will LPRC go about this? I mean, how will you execute that kind of a strategy?
Yeah, so we have a yearly research load that we start out in January, and then we work through and try to deliver as much of that as we can at our Impact Conference in October. And we have kind of three main areas that we focus on that we want to help retailers out with. So we see LP as being supportive of overall retail success through making sure that items are on shelf, they're available for customers, that the manager hasn't decided to pull the items and lock them in the back, and that they haven't just been shelf swept so that none are there. We want to make sure, second, that there's a great experience in store. So now, today more than ever, customers have the option to, just sit at home and click a button, wait a couple days, as opposed to coming into a store setting. So we want to make sure that it's as seamless as a store kind of experience as possible. If they want to come in and out without having to interact with an associate, we want self-checkout options, we want mobile point of sale, all those kinds of things, just to make it easier for the customer. And then finally, we want to make sure that they feel safe in the store. So we hear a lot of the intercepts that we do with customers. They say that they avoid shopping for groceries at night, or they avoid shopping for various other things once the sun is set, and that's obviously going to have a big impact on sales. So what can we do in the parking lot? What can we do inside the store itself to make them feel safe and secure?
Can you talk about the three pillars, the in-stock, experience, and safety?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have around 30 research projects that we do in any given year, and those projects are going to focus heavily on those three areas. We do direct customer intercepts to get a sense of how safe and secure customers feel in stores under various settings. So we'll test out a new technology. For instance, at a store lab in Gainesville, we've put an item out in the parking lot that kind of has flashing lights that look a little bit like police lights. So we've done some intercepts during the daytime and during the nighttime to get a sense of how customers feel about that. There's some interesting kind of initial findings. For instance, some people are kind of parking next to those on purpose. It seems like they see it as almost like a safe area. So definitely interesting getting direct feedback from the customers.
In the identify, inform, and integrate, the research catalog, so to speak.
Yep, absolutely. So, we have kind of a core mission of not only doing research, but getting it into the hands of our members in a way that is going to be actionable for them. So we try to write our research in a way where we have kind of a one-page executive summary, lets them know, what did you guys do and how can this impact my job? How can this impact my retail organization? We want them to get that information quickly. We want to deliver it in several different formats. So we unleashed a research catalog, which is kind of a video that has about 1-minute clips that explain each research project. And we finally want to make sure that it's part of kind of a total package. So we don't just hand you a study that says, this technology looks like it may have deterrent value. Good luck from here on out. We want to kind of be part of the process of installation, the process of training associates. We want to help them really get the thing installed in the store.
Can you provide some examples of how the process worked?
Yeah, absolutely. So we did some research with digital safety. So this is a technology that does benefit denial in an electronic format. So we started out designing a box mark. We did some research on figuring out exactly what you can put on a package that's going to get the attention of both customers and potential offenders. From there, we moved on to research and kind of a one-store pilot test. So we rolled that technology out to one store, and we did customer intercepts, associate intercepts, and a few offender intercepts. Then from there, once we got that feedback, made a few adjustments, we rolled out to a 20-store test, and then from there to a full nationwide rollout. And throughout that process, we were collecting information on, is this confusing to associates? Is this confusing to customers? And making adjustments as we went.
Interesting. But how does this translate into now and next, Reed?
Well, I mean, Mike's said a lot, and I think
An awful lot.
Yeah, the implementation piece is the key there. What happens? Just like microorganisms, humans, while maybe not quite as bright as some of the bacteria out there, do adjust and adapt and overcome whatever's out there. At the same time, the employees that are executing whatever it is, a technology or tasking, they get bored. They're obviously turnover and so on. So we got to keep it fresh for everybody. We've got to find new and dynamic ways to help them execute to the level they need to, maintain that, but then make some subtle adjustments in what they're deploying out there. Keeping it fresh, because the offenders, again, they don't like anything new. We know that from hundreds of interviews now with them, and then testing. So how do we keep it fresh and do some adaptations to what you're deploying? And so that's what we're doing right now in the lab and in stores. How do we put it out? Where do we put it out? When do we deploy it? And so on. The dosing is what we call that. And then now, how do we get our employees to execute this over time? And so it's not easy, but I think that's probably going to gain a lot more profit for these guys than the other way around.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Fred, I understand that you have a Security Operations Center lab going on. Can you kind of describe that and walk us through, give us a progress report on it and so on?
Sure. Well, down in the lab in Gainesville, there's been a setup of all the technology, right? So what we need to test, what works, what different types of technology are available to create a operations center, in what works together, right? So there's all different types of analytics, there's different types of video technology, communication technology. So there's one piece of it that's piloting that, right? We set it up down the lab, and I encourage anyone to go down and take a look at it. But the second piece is the research. So how are companies going to use it, right? What are the needs of the different retailers? What is their focus? How do they communicate? So there's a research part of that in trying to determine the needs of the retailers, and certainly we're focusing on the ones that are participating and providing all that data. So right now we're compiling all that to try and see what direction we're going to go in terms of more testing. And then there's other types of research. I know we've met with the counterterrorism group down in Washington, D.C. to kind of see how they set it up, as well as polling other retailers for what's in place today. So.
And that's technology, hardware, processes, programs. It's virtually the whole gambit of what you bring into a lab,
right?
So that they can see real time, real life, how it's reacting, how it works, and what does it take you to.
Right. I mean, we're dealing with the decision maker in those stores or distribution centers. They're making decisions. Well, they need better information, quicker, more accurate, and better definition of what's going on here than they have right now. And then they need better tools to do something about it at the in-store level. Well, now what we're talking about with Fred and Bloomingdale's and a series of other retailers, the same kind of competence needs to grow at that corporate or strategic level. And they've asked us, okay, can you help us at the strategic level, again, more quickly and accurately define what is going on here, validate, confirm, is this going on, and then push what needs to be pushed. The decisions need to be made whether it's in that corporate building or it's out at the local scene. And even if law enforcement's making the call in an active attack or some terrible situation locally, they can use some of the things that can be pushed from corporate level. Blueprints, employee lists, the right contacts. Maybe there's phones and things that can be activated in there and CCTV that could provide real-time intel to those decision makers. So that's the method of the madness here.
Sure. You know, Mike, can you describe the RFID iChain progress?
Absolutely, yes. So the innovation chains are a little bit unique from a lot of our other research. Our research occurs either in working groups or in innovation chains. Working groups are kind of thematically similar, so something like a supply chain working group or a violent crime working group, where the projects will all be related to a certain topic, but they won't necessarily be intertwined with one another, the research itself. The innovation chains, we try to take a more holistic approach. These are usually for types of technologies that come with their own ecosystem. So in the case of RFID, obviously there's all sorts of technology that goes into RFID. There's readers, there's technology that can track where the product is within your own store. There's a whole process of being able to track the product throughout the supply chain. So all these technologies, we want to bring them all together for a holistic test to know how these things work together so that we're not just putting the stamp of approval on individual technologies, but we're actually coming up with new and innovative ways to integrate technologies, make them talk to each other better so that they can be more productive for our members.
Where's all the research taking us?
Yeah, I think what it's taking us is that the complexity of what's going on continues to grow, but I think we can break it down and simplify what we need to do about it. And so I think it's better dashboards to make better decisions, whether it's a smart device in the store or a few screens at the corporate office. And then I think just better tools that can be focused based on what we're seeing on our screens.
You know, helping us adapt to ever-changing circumstances and staying ahead of future trends and stuff. I mean, what's the real push out there from a research and technology standpoint?
Well, I mean, right now, what we're trying to do, and Mike mentioned it with the iChains, are, okay, what's the problem we've got, whether it's burglary, shoplifting, employee deviance, whether it's some kind of active attack or an armed robbery in progress or something like that. How do we step back and then deploy these things and fine tune them? So these guys, it's very easy to use these things. And I think at the strategic level, we talked about the 3 buckets. Hey, we're here, so when she comes there, what you want's on the shelf. What she wants is there, and when she wants it. And then when she goes to check out, it's low friction, but it's secure for the retailer. And then finally, she feels safe coming there or letting her loved one come there whenever it's convenient for her, instead of picking up that box. So that's kind of tying it. We go, back and forth. All right, great. Now let's get back down in the weeds.
Yeah. Is the increased violence and civil disorder and pharmacy robberies and cybercrime driving more research?
Oh, yeah. I would say 5 years ago, we were asking a few retailers to work with us on it. We've now, probably 24 retailers are asking us, hey, we need this and we need it now. I mean, our people, our employees don't want to work in some of these places. And so we're kind of having to do what we can with who we've got. We need to make them safer places, and our customers, they're not coming there when we want them to.
Gentlemen, thanks for being here today. We appreciate it.
Our pleasure, guys. Thanks.
Well, that's it for this episode, ladies and gentlemen. We'd like to thank you for watching. And until next time, let's keep them all safe out there.